What's going on, guys? So today we're talking about precious metals and SHTF. All right, so what is SHTF? In case you don't know, it's beep hits the fan or crap hits the fan. You guys know what I'm talking about, trying to use profanity when it's not necessary. But yeah, the idea that, the US government collapses. Now obviously this could apply to any society or government all around the world, but generally speaking, when people say SHTF, they're talking about the US, right? The United States. If our government takes a dump and everything falls apart as society breaks down, the idea that you can use precious metals to purchase things and trade with other people in society has been a popular one for a long time. Now, I can tell you over the years, my opinion has certainly changed on this. When I first got into silver, I was very gung-ho about that particular idea, because throughout human history, ever since there were people and we found shiny rocks in the ground, which we called gold and silver, we put value on it. So there's nothing to believe that even in an economical collapse that there wouldn't be value. Because even if the American government completely fails, the rest of the world still keeps going. And those precious metals are still worth money all around the world. And for the foreseeable future, there's no reason to believe that gold and silver will never have value. Besides being, good looking, we do use it in industry. It is a necessity, especially for a technological future, okay, which I believe we would all have the idea is going to be a thing. You know what I mean? There's going to be technology and computers running everything for a very long time. And we need gold and silver for that technology. But besides that, people are just greedy. They like shiny stuff. They like, go all the way back to ancient Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Pharaohs just dripping in gold. And what do we have today? All those years later, we have rappers dripping in gold. We just like gold and we like silver. Silver just happens to be a cheaper precious metal. Now, obviously, silver and gold always get focused. There's also palladium and platinum. Platinum sometimes makes an appearance in jewelry, palladium as well, but very, very seldom. Most times people talk about precious metals, you are talking about gold and silver. But those are obviously on the side as well and certainly have value. Both a lot more value than silver, and in some cases more value than gold. But they seldom get talked about. But anyway, so the idea that, okay, society breaks down, now we're all short on ammo and guns and food and supplies and just things to just basically live. The idea was that you took silver and you traded it for food and ammo and everything else you need, right? Clothes and winter and who knows what, right? So again, stepping back, this is a slightly younger me, and I'm getting into silver. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I love the idea of silver. Totally like in the prepping mindset. That's kind of when I first got into silver, is when I super focused on prepping. Having enough food storage, ammo, all that kind of stuff, right? They kind of go hand in hand. But as I've grown a little bit older, I just don't believe it's going to work exactly how I thought it might work originally. Now, what I mean by that is gold and silver will always have value. It will always be worth something. So yes, even if society collapsed tomorrow, people with gold and silver, they could trade it for things. But it's funny because along the way, there was a couple people that would resist to the idea, and they would laugh at it. And they would say, yeah, sure. Like a mother would take gold or silver to give food to someone that could go to her child. There's no way. A father, of course, playing on these emotions too. Like you have a limited amount of food. Why would you ever give your food away for some kind of useless shiny metal? What are you going to do with that, to live? You don't need gold and silver to live, but you do need food. You do need shelter. You need clothes, warm clothes in cold environments and so forth. The list goes on, right? And I always used to argue with those people, and I would say, no, people are selfish. If you don't want to give it to that one mom or that one dad, guess what? The guy next to him or the girl next to him or her, they will take it. There's always someone that will want gold and silver. They will find that there's value, right? Now, although I kind of think that, it's dawned on me over the years how many people have no idea about gold and silver. And this is just, it's so true. Even if you stack yourself and if you happen to be into gold and silver, really think about it. How many of your friends and family know anything about it besides the ones that you chew their ear off every day or once a week or once a month or maybe just when you see them on Thanksgiving? You might be pitching that to them. You got to buy silver, you got to buy gold. But really, how many people in your life do you know that knows anything about it? Most people don't. If you really think about it, most people in your life have no idea about gold and silver. They know what gold and silver is. It's something that's in our society. But they maybe have some gold earrings they got for their anniversary or something. Or the guy might have a silver watch, you know? But most people, not only do they know very little about gold and silver, they know nothing, absolutely nothing about its value. They know nothing about spot price, ask, bid. All these things are things that stackers know about because that's their hobby. They enjoy that, right? So they know all about it. So if you really think about it, when society breaks down, there is no spot price. That no longer exists. There's no stock market, there's no exchange, there's nothing. So most likely the people who know about precious metals, they might go off its most recent value, but really think about that. As the society starts collapsing, gold and silver and precious metals as a whole will skyrocket. So who knows what kind of crazy numbers there were at the very end. Does silver go up to $100 an ounce, $1,000 an ounce? Is gold $1 million an ounce? Who knows? And no one around you is going to know what the value of that metal is. No one, not even the people who regularly deal with gold and silver. It's going to be a complete question mark and a mystery. And oftentimes when people talk about SHTF and the end of the world and all that kind of stuff, they talk about, make sure you have incremental silver and gold. And what that basically means is smaller pieces. Like you might not take, right now a gold coin's worth about $2,000, maybe you want to buy $50 worth of food, or $20 worth of ammo or something. So it's not practical to take a full coin like that and use it for bartering. So a lot of people focus on incremental pieces, like 1 gram gold bars and coins, maybe for silver, this happens to be silver shot. All right, so you can weigh this out. Well, okay, first of all, you need a scale. Second of all, how do you verify this is actually silver to most people who have no idea what silver really looks like or maybe feels like? So there's a lot of logistical problems with bartering with precious metals in SHTF. I've grown to really come to the realization that it's not practical. It really is not practical. It's kind of nice if you happen to run into someone who happens to be into metals like you are, and they understand that value, but I have to agree with those couple people who fought me all these years, who I fought back because I was very defensive. I'm like, no, I love my silver, you don't know what you're talking about. But I've grown from there, and I really do realize that it is far from practical, and I would have to say that most people you come into in that particular situation really aren't going to care about your gold coins or your silver coins. They really will be focusing on clothes and food and guns and ammo and knives and tools and little things in life, coffee beans, so it's just one of those things where my opinion has changed on it. It doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong, and if you disagree with me, it doesn't mean you're particularly right or particularly wrong. It just means that my opinion has changed. I understand that no, it's not really practical. So that's something I want to touch upon, that subject. I've changed my mind on that. Not to mention, when you're buying precious metals, the smaller the piece you buy, the higher the premium, okay? It is more expensive to buy a very small piece of silver or a very small piece of gold than it is to buy a larger piece. That goes with anything in our world. Buying in bulk is usually cheaper. That's just how it is. If you buy 1 box of rice, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, but then you buy that 20-pound or 50-pound bag of rice, it's going to be substantially cheaper. That's just how our society works, The smaller it is, the more expensive it becomes. And gold and silver and platinum, palladium are no exceptions to that, okay? So, number one, my opinion has changed. SHTF, I'm not concerned about having a bunch of gold and silver for that. My gold and silver stacking is purely a bank account for me. It's somewhat of a hobby, but it really is just a hedge against inflation. You will hear that term, or that saying, I should say, all the time. Precious metals are a hedge against inflation. It's true. It's just one of those things. However, you should have a very diverse portfolio. That's something else maybe you've heard as a kid, and you're like, what are people talking about? When you get into investing, you really should have a bunch of different ways that you invest, so that if one particular way takes a crap, you have other ones to rely on. And even the people who have millions and millions of dollars, they don't have millions and millions of dollars in gold. It's something like 5% is recommended, like 5% of your portfolio should be gold, but you don't want to be sitting with a bunch of money that's stagnant. And what I mean by that is that rich people, they'll often say, make your money, work for you, don't work for your money. So as you accumulate a lot of money, you invest properly so that your money grows. And believe it or not, gold and silver, although I feel like they're fantastic investments, they're slow investments. They're like getting in on an index on the stock market. You're going to see slow growth. But if you want fast, quick growth, those are different investments. Those have different risks involved, of course. Gold and silver, I feel, are extremely low risk, but low risk, low reward, right? That's how that works. So it's stable, but you're not going to make a bunch of money quickly. That's like a lifetime thing. That's a retirement goal. That's a goal to pass on to your children and grandchildren. So anyway, I'm kind of blabbing on. The focus really in this video was two parts. The first part was just talking about SHTF and how I really don't think that gold and silver are going to play a big role for a lot of people. So if you happen to be a prepper, yeah, it's good to have some, but I really wouldn't focus on it, and I really wouldn't pay those high premiums on incremental gold and particularly incremental silver. But you do you. I'm just sharing my opinion. It's definitely changed. So that being said, the second part of this video is kind of focused on this. This is silver shot. All right, so silver shot is basically just small little bits of silver. How they usually make this is they will melt silver. Then you can get gold shot or anything like that. A lot of times this is used in jewelry as well because they're small little pieces and they can kind of melt it and form it and add to rings and necklaces and so forth. But what you usually do is you melt the silver and then you pour it in water. Once it hits the water, it kind of beads off and separates into all these little tiny pieces. Now, some are bigger than others. It's a little inconsistent, but the idea is that you have very, very small increments of silver so you can weigh it out to an exact amount. Now, even though this is just silver shot in a jar, this was sold specifically to represent what $1 of silver used to be and what you used to be able to get for your silver certificate. So if you've ever heard or are involved in collecting any kind of paper money, like if you collect old bills, United States currency and stuff, you'll be very familiar with silver certificates. Okay, those generally have a little bit more money. They had special seals on them. I mean, you could look up, I don't have an example here to show you right now, but you can Google that real quick if you've never seen that before. But the idea was you take your silver certificate from the American government. This is their promise that this is worth something. And if you wanted to, you could take that paper, which was just a promise that had no physical value, and you can go down to a building and you could trade it for silver, real money. This is when our money used to be backed by actual precious metals. So I'm zooming in a little further here. I'm going to read what's on the bottle here. You guys can read with me if you want. It says $1 in silver nuggets, all right, as approved by the Secretary of the Treasury, June 4th, 1963. Public Law 88-36. May be secured only by presenting in person one silver certificate to United States Assay Office, 115 Herman Street, San Francisco, California, at the monetary value of $1.292 per fine troy ounce on or before June 24th, 1968. Okay, so again, you could bring your promise from the government, right? That piece of paper that we all have in our wallet, that's just a promise. And you used to be able to trade that piece of paper for real silver from the government. That's how it worked, all right? And obviously, most of us know today that the government, they just give us fake promises and they just keep printing them and devaluing them and that whole rest of the thing. I can go into a whole different rant about that, but I'm not going to because most of you understand what's going on with that. So, our money used to have meaning. It used to be backed by gold and silver and stuff, and that's long gone. We've given a lot of our gold to China and all kinds of different things. We're very indebted to China as well, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, that's again for a whole separate topic. Now, buying silver shot can actually be really cheap. Okay, now obviously you don't have any markings on it. There's no way to verify this is real silver unless you do an acid test, or if you have a machine that reads, different types of metals and things like that. But it's a great way to have incremental silver, and it's a great way to accumulate some silver really cheap. The premium is very, very low compared to coins and bars and things like that. This particular one with the little sticker on it in the little jar here has a higher premium because it's a little bit of a gimmick. All right, so this had like, I think a $5 to $6 premium over spot when I got this, but I just thought it was kind of cool. So it's a little collectible type thing. There's actually less than an ounce in here. It is 0.7734 troy ounces, so about 3/4 of an ounce, which is about 24 grams. To give you an idea, this was $1 of silver back then. All right, we're gonna go ahead and weigh it here. And I'll compare it to what $1 of silver today is. All right, so I'll actually leave that paper on there. We're gonna make sure we're in troy ounces here, which we are. All right, so keep in mind, when you used to be able to trade in your, okay, that was a bad idea. All right, let's try that again. Now that I folded this up, make sure we're still at 0. All right, here we go. Luckily I have the scale here. I can see, make sure that I still got everything since they went rolling everywhere. Okay. So, 0.771. I might be missing a little piece. A little piece rolled somewhere. Alright. Alright, I found it. It was on the floor. It was the teeniest, tiniest little piece of silver on the floor. That's why you gotta weigh things, right? I would have just lost that forever. So anyway, this was $1 worth of silver. Alright, and today, $1 worth of silver is 1.27 grams or 0.041 ounces of silver. All right, so let's go ahead and get this back in the jar. All right, the best we can. It doesn't look like much, but it's actually kind of heavy. It's got some heft to it. Put that back in there. That is exactly it right there. 0.041 ounces, or if we switch units to grams, 1.28. It's actually a little bit over, 1.27. So we're really, really close there. But that's $1 worth of silver today. All right, I'll put that in my hand here so you can see that. $1, as opposed to this whole jar used to be $1. All right, so you can obviously see the difference in silver price over the years. So yeah, I just thought this would be kind of fun to look at here. Buying silver shot, I mean, like I'd recommend having a little bit, it's just kind of cool. Overall, I probably have maybe 2 or 3 ounces of silver shot. I used to have a bunch more. Way back in the day, I got silver shot from Monarch Precious Metals. I think I might even still have a video on it, but I put it in those tube vaults. The tube vaults are basically like 2-liter soda bottles before they were melted and, you know, compressed with air. They were just kind of cool. They were super hard to break and stuff, and had like regular soda cap on top. But those held, I had 5 ounces of silver shot in each. So I had a 10-ounce total for silver shot. It's just kind of cool. Again, if you need a teeny tiny bit, I mean, you know, a lot of people buying this stuff are really jewelers because they need little tiny globs here and there for stuff to patch up jewelry or change sizes and rings and so forth. But yeah, just kind of an interesting topic. Let me know what you guys think about SHTF and precious metals. Do you save them for SHTF? Like I said, I used to have a little bit off to the side. I had a bunch of you know, gram increments for silver. I thought that was a good idea. Again, all that shot, so you can just weigh it out and stuff. But you know, think about it. You know, the world has collapsed. People are trying to stay alive at this point. No one's walking around with scales and, you know, gold and silver charts and things. And again, spot price is not going to be a thing. The only reason we put a certain value on precious metals is because we're told by other strangers that the world agrees with that at right this second, that's what it's worth. And there's so many different factors that drives spot price, you know, whether the stock market's doing good or not. You know, these different bubbles that happen that, you know, fluctuate those prices. The demand, you know, now of course the industrial demand of gold and silver as we get more technological, you know, as we use more and more computers, we need more and more of these precious metals for their conductivity properties. So they become, you know, important metals in industry. And it's not just the shiny stuff that's around our necks and hands and fingers. So it's fascinating. The whole thing's very fascinating, but I did want to talk about this a little bit. I absolutely put way less priority on precious metals as far as, you know, ways to barter in SHTF. I really would think that something like ammunition, firearms, basic tools, hammers, screwdrivers, things like that, people are going to be looking for way before they're going to be looking for gold and silver. Now, I have to say, in an SHTF type environment, everyone hopes that society comes back. And the whole idea is that, yeah, maybe you can get a bunch of gold and silver because no one's going to care about it for your food because you were smart enough to prep a bunch of food. And then when society starts growing back to normal, and or you move to a different country, all that silver and gold is going to be worth a ton of money, you know. So there might be a moment in history, a little blip on Earth's, you know, history, that gold and silver was devalued quite a bit, but it always comes back. So really, if something bad happens and America fails as a government, it means the world to Americans, obviously, and it's devastating. But really, it is such a small blip on human history, it means nothing. So many governments have failed. In fact, all governments in history have failed. All world powers have failed eventually. It seems a little macabre to think about, but everything has an end. Everything good comes to an end, and everything changes. It's just a matter of time. But if that does happen, you know, gold and silver could see a massive, massive decrease, but it'll never be worth nothing. And as time goes on, you know, and whatever people are still here that survive it, gold and silver will go back up. You know, they will always have value, at least in my opinion and many others. You know, we always tell you to learn about history because history repeats itself, and you can learn a lot about the world we live in now based on our history. And like I said, I mean, since people, human beings, first found this stuff in the ground, we put value on it and we never changed. There were so many different things over the years that had more value and changed, but gold and silver never did. Gold, silver, gems, gemstones like diamonds, rubies, things like that, emeralds, they've always had value. So there's no reason to believe they won't in the future, but who knows? You never know if a technology changes or something, or society changes and how we look at things. And yeah, maybe in the future, gold and silver, just no one cares about it anymore. Maybe technology changes so that we don't need it in industry and we just stop mining for it and we just don't care. I don't think anyone watching this video is going to be alive to ever see anything like that. I don't even think your grandkids will be alive to see anything like that, but who knows? No one can predict the future. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention that for anyone who's like super hyper focused on like, I have to have little tiny bits of gold and silver so that I can eat during an apocalypse. I wouldn't worry about it. I just wouldn't worry about that. I would definitely focus your stuff on other things. Even if you don't own firearms, buy ammunition. If you're a prepper, you should have it. Well, if you're a prepper, you should have guns, but I understand, especially people outside the US, it's like just impossible. You know, maybe you want a firearm, it's just not possible in your scenario with your laws and everything. Or maybe you're just not in a position where you can afford it. Or all the different paperwork that goes with it. I know some people outside the US, you can get guns, but it can be quite expensive and quite a lengthy process. But ammunition is a fantastic bartering tool, even if you don't have firearms. You know, maybe you can trade, you know, in SHTF, let's say you don't have any guns, but you got, you know, 5,000 rounds of 22. You could probably trade a bunch of those rounds for guns, or who knows, maybe just one little box. You know, some guy might have, you know, 100 firearms, but no ammo. Guess what? Those are useless now, as we know. It's like having a bunch of hammers with no nails. They go hand in hand. So if you're the person that has a bunch of ammo, you can easily acquire a firearm when you need it. So yeah, I'm not really focusing on gold and silver and stuff for SHTF anymore, although I'm, you know, very focused on gold and silver in general, just as an investment, period. And a way to stash away wealth. That's really what it's all about for a lot of people. But yeah, once I reach a certain point, I have my goals. It will take me probably many years to reach my goals. I personally would love 1,000 ounces of silver. I am very far from that. Who knows, maybe a decade or two. And as far as gold, I mean, I'd love to have 10 ounces of gold. You know, I mean, the more the merrier. But again, it really should only be about 5% of your full portfolio as far as investments, because if you have a bunch of money to spend on gold and stuff, you could be making even more money from it investing elsewhere, you know. But, you know, I'm not a financial advisor. I say that all the time because it's true. I'm not. I'm just a dude just telling you how I feel about things. And that's my latest opinions. As time went on, I just kind of had the realization that it's just not going to work. Not how I originally thought it might work, you know. It's just one of those things. It's just not practical. I used to, you know, believe it was. I believed that people were so greedy that they wouldn't care about other things. But, you know, a little bit older now, possibly a little bit wiser. And that's, you know, up for debate, I suppose. But I do feel like that, yeah, that's definitely not my focus anymore. It's really just about having a little plan B in case something bad happens. I got a little wealth to dip into. It's not much, but better than nothing. So anyway, hopefully you guys have a fantastic day. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below, and I will see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.